Hi everyone, so today I'm filming a Q&A video out here on our front porch. We have a beautiful day here in Ohio. The weather is perfect, the sun's out, there's a slight breeze going, no humidity like we've had recently. It's just that perfect summer day. I'm loving it. So let's get right to the questions. The first ones are from last month's Q&A, and in case you missed that, I actually filmed it in Hawaii where my family, the four of us, spent 2 weeks. It was so much fun, and I did get some requests from you guys that you'd like to see more of Hawaii, and I really thought about it. I may end up publishing a video sometime just in between my Wednesday videos, because I did end up making like a home movie or a slideshow of sorts, and it turned out to be an hour long, so I probably wouldn't put the whole hour on there. There's some crazy family moments that I probably wouldn't want to share with anyone besides just, the immediate family here, but we had such a fun time, and I remember when we were planning our trip, it was so nice to be able to look at, people's videos and get advice on, what to do. Maybe I can at least share what our highlights were. I did notice some of the questions are Hawaii related, so I figured if you missed that video, it probably wouldn't make sense, but Karen says, we loved Hawaii. Did you see the rainbow eucalyptus trees on Maui? Truly a work of art. We did see them, and yes, they are a work of art. I was fascinated with them. I couldn't believe there was all those colors. Like it didn't seem like a tree with all of those colors in the trunk. So unique and beautiful. Rebecca says, what air sprayer do you use with the air compressor? Not your Wagner, but the other one. I have a Dewalt Air Sprayer. I just love it. I've talked about my air system before on here, and I don't want to bore you with it again, but just quickly, my dad had actually set it up for me. Air compressor in the one shop, a big storage tank in the other, so I have an endless supply of air. That is why I often go for my air sprayer. It's lightweight for me to hold it versus the Wagner is a bit more heavy. If I didn't have the air system, or I didn't want to invest in an air compressor, I would probably use the Wagner, the electric Wagner, to spray paint my furniture. But being I have such a good air system, that's why I go for my Dewalt. And if it were to give out, I definitely get one just like it. Love it. And I'll link it down below in the description box in case you're looking for one. I get it from Amazon right around $100, I think. DH says, I have never thought of your channel as infomercial. Was the comment referring to the ads? Whatever. The other 273,000 subbies still like and enjoy your videos. Having an online shop, well, that comes with a bit of marketing, as does any retail shop, whether brick and mortar or online. One can always fast forward through that part if they prefer. Will you still be doing videos as you did that dining room, $200 for a room makeover? Well, first of all, thanks for your support on the infomercial comment. Like I mentioned in my last Q&A, that's probably my worst fear, that people would think that my channel is about that. I love my Etsy shop and my new product line. I love the idea of selling things and helping people to make their homes beautiful, but at the same time, I don't want to seem like an infomercial. I guess I had talked about that in the last Q&A, but I do appreciate the kind words and the support, and I totally agree with you that if somebody doesn't like that, they can always fast forward. I'd do that if I wouldn't, and I even do that sometimes in videos. I'll fast forward through the sections that I don't apply to me or whatever. But answering your question on the dining room makeover, I love doing that video, and the other day I was thinking about it. I do want to do another one like that. I call them like a room challenge video, where I'm only allowed to spend a certain amount of money and kind of furnish a whole room. So I'll definitely keep it in mind. Thanks for the reminder here. It seems recently the videos I've been making are kind of things that I have to do around here anyway, being it's the season we're in. So I haven't really been able to, find the time to do kind of an extra video as far as maybe a room challenge or something like that. But again, I enjoy doing it, and I'll definitely try to do more of them. And it's good for me to have a reminder like this. If you guys have any requests, feel free to share them in the comments, because sometimes that will get me to thinking along that line and then getting it done. The next question or comment, I won't try to pronounce the name. I'm pretty sure I'd mess it up. I wish you came to the big island of Hawaii. We are in Kona. Would have loved to connect and host you and your family. Welcome to Hawaii. Well, how kind of you to say. I would love to see the big island. We didn't get to visit. Maybe next time, if there's ever a next time. The next questions are from the stone steps video that my husband had put in. How long did it take you to get the whole path in with the terracing and planting? It's amazing. I wish I had access to stone like that. Here in Houston, we have to pay for it. Yeah, good and bad with that. Like I mentioned in the video, it is a blessing in a way to have, access to all kinds of stones, but then if you go to dig a hole, they're also there, so it's cons with that too. But yeah, John did such an awesome job with the steps. I love them. Like, I use them every day, often. It's so handy to go back and forth. But as far as how long it took John to, put them in, I would say it went over the course of a month. But that was him, working full time at his job, and then just sometimes in the evening, if he didn't have anything, he'd work on them. And then some Saturdays, I imagine if he'd have a week to do them, maybe 5-6 days, just do nothing but that, he probably could have gotten it done. But it would have been nice to somehow time it to kind of see. It'd be interesting to know exactly how long it took. So I had to run out for a bit. I'm not quite sure where I was going with this, but I'll just reread the question. Jennifer says, does your husband ever say nope when you say you'd like to do something? I feel like it's pulling teeth when I tell my husband ideas, even when I'm doing it myself, but in the end, he likes what we've done. Thankfully, John is really good with that, as far as he's really laid back, he doesn't scare easily. I mean, he does let me know if he doesn't agree with something, like he has an opinion, but he's, yeah, very tolerant of most of my ideas. Now and then he'll tell me, no, there's no way we're going to do that. And usually, on hindsight, I'm like, that was the right decision. So it's good that he kind of keeps me in check with some of my far out ideas. You can imagine I come up with them, but for the most part, he's, he'll listen and kind of be open-minded about it, thankfully. But it is kind of funny how you say, Jennifer, that your husband doesn't always, like what you're doing, but in the end, he likes what you've done. That has happened for us too, where John wasn't completely on board with something, but once I was finished, he actually ended up liking it then, which is awesome. Sabrina Ruse says, we have a lot of snails that eat all I plant these days. What are you doing against snails? I don't really do anything for them. I mean, as far as they're not that bad. I see them now and then on hostas especially, but I'd say my worst enemy around here as far as bug related is probably the Japanese beetles. I'm sure many of you experience that too, but they can just literally destroy a plant. Roses especially. I only have 3 rose bushes on our entire property, and that's probably why, I mean, it just seems it's so much maintenance for me to go out and battle these Japanese beetles. I know there's traps you can set. I'd be curious if any of you guys use any of those. I've seen maybe kind of, they look like bags that you hang up and they're supposed to, trap the Japanese beetles, but I'm never sure, would that actually work or not. Laura Baker says, can you please link the solar lights you used? Yes, I will definitely try to do this, and I'm sorry that I didn't. I probably said in my video that I would, and I probably forgot. I do that all the time. But yeah, I really like those lights. Like right now in the evening, they're really nice and bright. They actually light the path, so that's a pretty good solar light if they do that, if you ask me. Leah Rivka Griffin says, how long did it take to do? Which I guess we talked about that. Your husband could be a professional and he made it look so effortless. I agree with that. Also, do your cats get along? I hardly ever see them in the same place at the same time. Our cats actually have kind of a weird relationship, I think. Now and then I'll see them together like they're best friends, kind of like our boys in a way. They'll just have moments where I can see they actually kind of like each other, especially during the winter when it gets really cold on the outside. They will sleep downstairs in the basement on this pillow together, like they'll be cuddled together on a pillow, and I think it's so cute. So that's the moments where I think, oh, they actually like each other, but usually they kind of either ignore each other or just kind of tolerate each other. That's about it. Very rarely will I see them chase each other, and hardly ever do they actually fight, thankfully. But Twinkle is usually the one that gets too rough. Like, I feel like when they start chasing each other, they're probably playful to begin with, and then he'll get kind of rough with Pebbles. And I usually kind of sternly yell his name, and he knows right away, he's not supposed to do that. So I feel, from what I see, they're pretty good with each other. And as I'm talking about him, Twinkle is in front of me, sprawled on the floor. Should get a picture of him. He definitely looks really innocent right now, but he can be really mischievous. Next question here, did the grass killer affect your plants? No, it did not. And I try to use, I think I had mentioned it in the video, I use a product called Burnout or Clean something, forget the name, but it's supposed to be a notch better than your Roundup would be. Another comment here from DH, wow, that looks awesome, thank you. Was it cold at Lowe's? LOL, you were dressed like it was winter. It was cold at Lowe's. We had some weird cold weather kind of late in the year here in Ohio. And I remember when I left for the store, I thought people are probably going to think I'm crazy with my winter coat, but I was bound and determined to be comfortable while shopping for plants. It's often cold somewhere like that, I think. Like it's, there are plants, of course, on the outside, and it was windy. But yeah, it definitely felt good, that coat. The next questions are from my sister's gardens, and I really tried hard to get her to come in here and answer your questions. I thought that would be kind of fun if both of us would sit here, but she probably would have if I would have just insisted, but I didn't want to force her, so she'd kindly answered the questions through email, so I'll probably just read off her answers. I feel like she's much better at answering questions about her own gardens than I am. So let's see what the questions are here. The first question here is Terry Crawford saying, how many years has she been working on her gardens? Everything is lovely, such a green thumb. I agree with that. And she says, gardens are 15 to 20 years old, but I have changed a lot over the years. And trust me, she has. Like, it almost seems daily when I come out there, she's either moving something around, or, which that's the fun of gardening, right? You get to move things around and just make it look exactly like you want it to, or try to. Deborah says, how long does it take her to water all the plants in the covered areas? She says, houseplants on the porches have a watering schedule of once a week, and it takes about 20 minutes. The pots that get sun during the day, I check every day if it doesn't rain. I almost never water in the gardens, but depend on rain, unless there are new plantings that need moisture to get established. She's really good with her watering schedule. Like, I should have a schedule like that. I just kind of check my things, and once they're probably almost too dry, I start watering, but it's a good idea to be on a schedule, especially if you have that many. Lori Ann says, does your sister have help to maintain these beautiful gardens? And her answer is, I do the gardening myself. Unless there are heavy rocks that need moved, then my husband helps me. Sandra Olson says, just curious how she keeps up with weeds in such a big and beautiful garden. I mulch with leaf bark mulch in April, and this helps to keep weeds from sprouting. I actually do the same thing. It's amazing how much that helps to just put a thick layer of mulch down in the spring. That'll keep your weeds at bay. Kelly Barfoot says, I love the idea of putting my houseplants outside for the summer, but I'm so worried about them getting bugs. Any suggestions? She says, my plants are more pest-free if they are outside in summer than they are in winter when they are inside. Polly Colley says, love taking a garden walk with you. How on earth does your sister keep the deer away? In our neck of the woods, the deer can gobble up hostas, leaving not a leaf behind. That would be such a bummer. We thankfully don't have that problem around here. I don't know, is it because we're in the country, like we're surrounded with woods and fields, like they probably have enough out there that they kind of leave our gardens be, but rarely have we ever had issues with deer. She also goes on to say here, maybe your sister knows this quote, when the world wearies and society ceases to satisfy, there is always the garden. I love that. Let's see what Marlene says about that. Love the quote. We don't have deer on our property. We have a lot of surrounding woods and fields, which they seem to prefer. They also get hunted in the fall, which might make them more skittish. That could be true too. I Love Music Mom says, absolutely beautiful. Are you the caretaker while she's on vacation? How long does it take to water all of her potted plants? And Marlene says, Mary and my mom take care of the plants when we aren't home, and I gladly do that. In fact, I enjoy doing it. It's like therapy to me to go out there and water her plants. I'm always a little afraid I won't get it done like she usually does, but so far I don't think anything has died when they were on vacation that she told me about anyway. Marty Scott says, I was wondering, did the property belong to your parents before? Did you divide it so that you and your sister could both live on the property? Do you share the big pond or not? How long has your family owned the property? Let's see what she says here. Yes, my parents owned the whole property. It was bought in 1987, which question mark, it's probably around that time. And then she just says, you know the answers to the rest of the question. The property was divided, but it wasn't. My parents actually lived here at the time, and they just sold a couple acres to my sister and her family. And at the time, we actually lived about 7-8 miles from here for a number of years, actually. And suddenly this kind of came up here, like this property here where my parents were residing at the time, and they kind of wanted to downsize, and it just fit for us to buy this. And the pond down here does belong to this property, but my sister and her family are most welcome to use it anytime they wish. And along with all of the woods around here, we don't own it all, but we're welcome to, you know, walk on it. It's so nice to, like, it's our stomping grounds. Like, my sister and I would literally live in the woods growing up. We were such a fan of nature back then. I had to change my battery in the camera. I keep getting these interruptions, but as I was saying, we literally lived in the woods. We'd draw a map of all the trails that we made and the creek crossings, and everything had a name. And so even now, it's so nice. Every now and then, if we get the time, we'll take a walk through the woods and kind of reminisce about the old days, and it's a lot of fun. We really enjoy being neighbors. American Woman says, please ask your sister if she will adopt me. Let's see if she responded to that. Oh, LOL. So I think that's it for that video. The next questions are from the fire pit makeover video. Have you ever thought of painting your blue chairs? I thought about that. I think I mentioned it in the video too. I'm still debating. I have them on a stack in the garage. I'm thinking of, you know, donating them to a thrift store, but at the same time, I wonder too if I could just paint them. You're saying I did that with some of our chairs and they lasted many more years. Maybe I should paint them a nice neutral color. Seda Swift says, I was thinking about two things for your space. Number one, would marine varnish help your DIY outdoor furniture last longer? That is actually a good idea. I didn't think about that, but I imagine, you know, a marine quality varnish or top coat would really do a good job of preserving wood. Number two, solar lights for that space. This way you have both low and high lights. I thought about that too. I do actually still have some left over from what we used on the stone steps. They came in boxes of 6 or 8, whatever, and I have some left over, so I may have to put them down there. I love any lights in the evening. It's cozy. After Midnight says, I love the area. Well done. Thank you. We have a fire pit and are thinking of putting rock down. Did you use landscape fabric under yours, or is the rock laid on top of the soil? It is just laid on top of the soil. I'm sure landscape fabric would be a good idea though, because I do battle some weeds. Kim PM says, question, did your older pond fish survive the pond cleanup? I remember you were putting stuff in the water to clean it up. Yeah, the products I used are okay for the fish and the frogs and everything else down there. So they did survive, thankfully. And I do want to post another video sometime this summer, kind of a pond update video. We're still treating it with the products that I had shown in the video last summer, and we are really impressed with them. Business-minded mom says, you could have also made a fabric covered button to cover the screws on the stool. That's a good idea. I may still end up doing that because I feel like, I guess I had explained in the video, but the one piece of wood on top of the stool isn't as sturdy as the other side because I wasn't able to put my screws in from the top. Like, I had to go through the fabric. So that might solve that, to add like a little button or even just a wooden peg thing. Also, did you hear about the new disease that is affecting songbirds? It causes them to go blind and kills them, and they don't know what it is, but they are suggesting to take away any communal bird feeders. I guess in case they can spread it that way. I have many feeders, and I know you do too. I did hear a little bit about that. I haven't heard that they're advising to do that in our area, but yeah, that's kind of sad. Actually, that's really sad. Poor birds, and then I would really miss seeing the birds come to the feeder. I may have to do a little research on that. Linda Armstrong says, I absolutely love your property. Also, how do you manage to get your teenage son to help you? My granddaughter, who is nearly 16, is so lazy, will not do a single thing to help around the house. I get a little bit of release from her attitude as she lives with me while I watch your lovely, relaxing videos. Please tell me how you manage to get them to help. Oh, well, I'm sorry to hear that, first of all. I'm not saying that my sons are always just really willing to help me, but we do have some, rules around here. I don't know what to advise you to do, but often if, things don't get done, like just common household duties that they're supposed to, take care of, I will take away, their screen time or stuff they like to do. Like they're not allowed to do the fun stuff until the work's done, which everybody probably tries to do that, and I fail at that sometimes even. But I do think once they reach a certain age, they kind of get a feeling of accomplishment in doing something. I remember, growing up, I didn't feel that when I was young. I always kind of groaned when I had some, chores I needed to do. It was just a given, we had to do those before we could go play or whatever. And so that was kind of why we did them. But later on, getting older, I remember kind of feeling the sense of accomplishment at actually getting something done. But I don't really know how you just make someone feel that way. And sometimes I feel like my boys don't feel the way I used to feel in that regard. I don't know, is it just the new generation, or it's hard sometimes to know, you don't want them to be lazy. That's probably one of the worst traits, to me anyway, to think of living with someone that was truly lazy. That would not be an easy person to live with. But yeah, I'd say, again, just taking privileges away until, they get done what they're supposed to do is probably what always kind of worked best for us. The last questions are from the adding character to furniture video. Dana H says, love the new cabinet and the wooden chairs, but not sure about the folding chairs. I think they remind me too much of racing stripes on cars. That is so funny. I have to tell my son that, because when I was painting those on the chairs, that's the first thing he said when he came out. Those look like racing stripes. To me, I was thinking, grain sack stripes, but I can definitely see where it kind of looks like racing stripes too. Have you ever made your own chalk paint with any success? I'm actually on the verge of trying something new. I don't really want to talk about it on here in case it doesn't work out, but as far as just making like a chalk paint, just using a regular latex paint and then adding calcium carbonate, which is chalk, the fancy word for chalk, adding that into your paint, that has worked. I've done that in the past. And then also plaster of Paris, that works too. It makes it more, not gritty, but kind of like a matte finish, and it really seems to stick well. I had done a video probably a couple years ago on that. I'll try to link it down below in case you want to check it out, but I do have an end table that we still have, and it really, the paint does not come off, and I used like a homemade chalk paint to paint it. Ella's Cottage Company, like that name, says, saw Ginger Chick use an electric knife to cut foam and it worked great, like slicing butter. Question, how noisy is your air compressor? First, the electric knife, definitely have to invest in one of those. I got lots of tips or advice on doing that. People probably saw me struggling with that dull knife and scissors I tried to use, and they just didn't really turn out the way I had hoped, but it kind of worked. But definitely an electric knife next time. And then the question, how noisy is the air compressor? It is fairly noisy, but it doesn't run for a long time. Like it'll just run for maybe 30 seconds to a minute, and then it'll stop. Like it just kicks on if the air pressure goes down to a certain level. And when I'm painting down in the brown shop or outside there on the driveway, it's not close by. I can hear it in the other shop, but it's not like it's right beside me or anything. Maureen Levy says, did you coat the green chairs with a wax or protective top coat of any kind? I did not. I usually don't. If I use like a spray paint in one of the spray cans, I feel like that paint is really, it's like an oil-based paint, and it really is there to stay. Tracy Doyle says, love seeing your Aloha t-shirt. I think I had that on in the end of the video, the last video. So what did you think of Hawaii? I used to live there and hope everyone can visit at least once in their lifetime. That's exactly how I feel. I never lived there, but just going on vacation there, I wish everyone could visit once. There's the beautiful green mountains and the aqua water and the black rocks, and then it'll rain for maybe 30 seconds, and then a rainbow will come out, and it's such a pretty place. Tammy says, which side of the parchment paper do you print on for transfer of images? Either side works. Jennifer says, does anyone know what staple gun Mary is using? It's probably, again, one of those things where I didn't put the link down below in the description box, but I will try to link it down below this time. Love that staple gun. So that's it for today's Q&A. Thanks for hanging out with me. I hope you got something out of it. Sorry I can't get to all of the questions. It's not that your question isn't important. It's just my niece usually goes through and just picks out a handful of questions per video. I hope you're having a great day. I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye.